Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. All right. Hello, guys. We are here with the Phalanx Week 3 VGC weekly recap. We had a lot of pretty good matchups this week. I haven't even watched a lot of them. Unfortunately, we did have 2 forfeit losses, which is really it sucks. Thankfully, it's the only 2 forfeits we've had, I think, overall. So that's nice at least. But yeah, great to be back with VGC. Even though we are missing 2 matchups, we still got 5 great matchups. So including I think my matchup was awesome. So we got some good matchups. If you want to watch more about my matchup, I did just upload a video about that too. So not shameless plug right there. But yeah, let's get right into it with Trippy versus Charcoal Oven. Alright, very standard lead. Tornadus and Calyrex versus Tinglu and Gargs. Okay. I'm expecting like a Terra here. Or something, or else you just get hit with a Draining Kiss, maybe? Or a Nasty Plots, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually. And then you hope he gets unlucky, which he realistically will. Perfect. And now you're in a great spot with Charcoal Oven, because you can Draining Kiss. You only do half, actually, which is not great, but you Bleak Wind Storm and do some decent damage. Fissure misses, and if it misses again, oh, that's so good for Charcoal. You can probably just click Astral Barrage here. It's probably the best play. Yeah, and then Bleak Wind again. So now you're even stronger for the next 2 Mons, and as long as it doesn't miss, then Garganacl dies, and it's now a 2v4 against a +3 Cali. Worst luck I've ever had. Missing 4 in a row. It's not that unlucky. It's definitely unlucky, but it's not that unlucky. Also, the sunny day is really nice. You just get rid of his weather immediately. He's just gonna go for it again, and he misses again. Oh my god, he's 0 for 6. Okay, that's really bad. And now it's just GG. I mean, it was anyways, but you had somewhat of a chance, maybe. So that is I believe that's a. Oh, sorry, let me work on my math. Yeah, that is an 11.76% chance of happening, of missing 6 in a row. So it's definitely unlikely. I mean, you have like a 90 or you have an 88% chance to hit at least one of your 6, right? If you click it 6 times in a row. That being said, that happens with the strategy. Like, you're gonna win if you get really lucky. If you hit it every one of them, like, that's it's a less than 1% chance that you hit 4 in a row. But if you do, you just win the game on the spot. Now, if you get the 11% or 12% chance that you miss 6 in a row, then you lose on the spot. And that's the problem with this team. Means it's just really inconsistent. Yeah, it's really really unfortunate. Yeah, basically a Draco miss. Honestly, Draco missing is slightly more common. Or actually, Draco miss is less common than this missing 6 in a row. Follow me is nice, just because even if you get unlucky, or he goes for actual attacks this time. It's good. Oh, he only goes for 1 actual attack. Dragon Claw would have been nice there. Or anything. And now, there goes Metagross, and Great Tusk gets a free CC off to kill Kyurem. And now it is a 2v3 versus a +3 Calyrex and a 1.3 times attack. Great Tusk. And you have Tinglu, who dies to Great Tusk, and Kyogre, who dies to Cali. That's just like AB, I guess. Oh, never mind. You just Draining Kiss to Tinglu. That's fine. Because then you see the Kyogre. And it died. Oh, the crit maybe mattered. Hard to say. I mean, it wouldn't have affected the game. You know, like, I think this is... I'm almost positive this is Sash Cali. But even if it's not, and you kill the next two things, or you Oko both, which would be crazy. I mean, you Oko Great Tusk for sure. You probably kill Cali because it's not super bulky. Then you need the next thing to be like Entei, I guess, in the back, or Tornadus in the back. Even Tornadus could like maybe stand a chance, but you really needed to kill both there, and it's not happening. So a very clean win for Charcoal. Hard to say that this was too skill based. He just kind of set up turn one both games, and then abused Calyrex being really good and really strong. Also abused the bad RNG on his part. He went 0 for 7, I believe, which is ridiculous. About the calculator again. And if we do this, sorry, this is all for the content. Trust. That's an 8.2% chance of missing 7 in a row. But hey, it happens. You can't trust the strategy. You can complain about the RNG, obviously. That's valid, but like it's not valid when that's your whole strategy. So yeah. Anyways, good win for Charcoal. He just kind of played smart, and the odds were generally in his favor. So, and he got lucky anyways. So that was nice for him. And now we have Nick versus Screwbite. Alright, we have Politoed and Arch versus Latios and Palkia, just both restricted. Or not both restricted. I forgot Latios wasn't restricted. Helping Hand Spatial does a lot of damage, actually. I'm curious if Palkia dies from... He does, wow. Not a great start, but Arcaladon does take a lot of damage, and Icy Wind comes off, so now you're slower than probably both, depending on how fast Politoed is. And so you might get undersped with both your Mons here, which is unfortunate. Nope, never mind, you actually outspeed both, which is crazy. I guess they're very bulky. But yeah. Focus Blast comes out. That's a terrible play. Terra Shell means the first attack of any kind that hits Trapagos will be resisted, no matter what, even if it's super effective, as you could see with Focus Blast, which is normally super effective. It does 9% because it's a resisted attack. Even though it's 120 base power, it's still resisted. So you're better off clicking either Icy Wind to try and fix the fact that he has Tailwind up and you don't, or any attack. I mean, Icy Wind is good because it's super effective into Latios, but literally any attack is better than Focus Blast because it's 70% accurate. So that's not a great... I think it's a really rough play by Screwbite. Arch just gets outsped. So it's kind of your fault for not investing in speed, but other than that, it's not... You couldn't really do much. And now Weather goes down because Terraform 0. Helping Hand, probably just Terra Starstrong to do a lot of damage to both. Yep. That's just a lot of damage. Wow. Unambiguous. Dark Pulse kills Latios, and if it's Weather Ball, that's really unfortunate. Perish Song. Interesting. Huh. Especially when you have 2 Mons out and he has 1 Mon out. You can't switch both because you only have 3 Mons total. It's really not a great play. Yeah, but now Politoed's stuck on the field. He's just going to die to Perish. Especially if Amoonguss can get off a Spore into the partner of whoever's left. It's just GG. It's over. Tropicus will die. Oh, okay. I guess it can make sense. You have protect. You don't protect. Wait. I really don't get this play. You know he's. Oh, I think I understand what's happening here. Screwbite. Either one doesn't know that Terra Starstorm is super effective into Pokemon that have Terastallized, no matter what their typing is. It's neutral and everything, except for mons that have Terastallized, which he just did, meaning it's now super effective. So Zacian is gonna probably get O-code here, or he just maybe he didn't realize that and just thought that it's a normal type move and he'll be immune to it, or he's expecting him to go for something like Hyper Beam, which is not super common on Tropicos, or another normal type move, but Terra Starstorm makes by far the most sense here, so I think this is a really bad play, Terastallizing Zacian. He probably just doesn't understand the mechanic, but it's unfortunate. Amoonguss lives, which is really good because it means that... oh, Earth Power. Actually, I guess it was a good play in this case. I think Terra Starstorm... I think it's still a bad play, honestly. I think Terra Starstorm makes by far more sense. We saw that it did 25% to Politoed. So I get trying to kill Zacian right away, but Terra Starstorm makes more sense just to get damage off than Amoonguss can Spore. Yeah, Amoonguss Spores anyway. Another Focus Blast, 32%. Yeah, it's really not a great move. Politoed is not super strong. And now Terra Starstorm is really good because you can just kill Zacian and then Politoed dies. So, the protect there, I guess, just to keep him alive from... You actually should have Rage Powder. Or, no, not Rage Powder, because you want him to survive. So, protect does make the most sense there. Yeah. And now Politoed and Terrapagos die. And so you win. That was pretty well played by Nick, honestly. I thought there were a handful of a handful of not great plays by Screwbite. Not a ton. In 6 turns, he only made like 2 bad plays. And even then, the Terra Ghost actually worked out for him. So, Parasong, I really don't think helped him, though. Especially when you have 1 Mon in the back, and you have 2 Mons on the field that are already both damaged. Really, really hard to get them both out of here. So, realistically, you could maybe save Politoed and switch in Zacian, but then you're switching in Zacian, which you don't really want to do. You want him to be pretty healthy most of the time. I think regardless, the play is to switch out Politoed. When the second you click Parasong if you're going for it, but just don't click it usually. I don't know. I would wait to click it at least. Anyways, let's move on to game 2 between them and see if things go a little differently. Follow me makes a lot of sense. So I don't really need to watch on slow. I can just pause when I want to talk. That does a lot of damage. Wow, Special Rend did a lot there. Spiky Shield makes somewhat sense. Dragon Cheer is really good because, wow. Oh, Spatial Rend's a Dragon type. I forgot that it wasn't a Psychic. The way he was using it, it looks like a Psychic type. Like, if you watch the animation for it, doesn't that look like a Psychic type attack? I mean, it's obviously not, because it's a stab move, and that's why it's so good, because it's like 100 base power stab, but like, sorry. I had that in my head that he's using a Psychic type move into a Dark type. But I don't think we saw what item Palkia was last game. Yeah, we didn't. He only clicked Spatial Rend so far, so theoretically he could be Specs. But because you're going for Dragon Cheer, I'm assuming, and he just crit, it's a 50% chance if you're holding any other item, but if it's a 100% chance if you're holding either the Razor Claw or the Scope Lens. He's probably holding one of those 2 items, meaning Dragon Cheer means he always crits. So you have Tailwind up. They unfortunately have Tailwind up too. But it means that you're always critting, so you're in a really good spot. Zacian is good into you, but if you Terra, then perfect. You still take 40%, which is really not ideal. Latios kills Ogerpon with probably his only attacking move, and then Earth Power is great there, and now it's just over. Wow, Helping Hand Earth Power is just game. Or Spatial Rend, yeah. Because he hadn't Terra, I guess. That makes, what Terra was? Arch, Terra Water. Wouldn't have mattered. Earth Power's 100%. It really doesn't matter. So, that's game. Wow, that was a very commanding game, too. That was barely 4 turns for Nick. Tailwind hadn't even expired. But, well played. I mean, Nick played well throughout. I thought Screwbait didn't play terribly. Except he did change genders mid-battle. I mean, that's kind of funny. But, yeah, that's really unfortunate for Screwbait getting 4-0'd in that last one. But yeah, let's move on to TBL versus It's Just Me. Now, I can't remember if I watched this game or not. I pretty much exclusively do stats, so I probably watched every game. But Trick Room comes out on the same turn Tailwind is set up. Wow. Sorry, let me rewatch this. Switch into Crest, which is interesting, especially if you're going for Tailwind. Like, you want to get off an attack with Chiyu if you're going for Tailwind. But leading Porygon and Primarina, I don't really get why you go for Tailwind. Primarina gets special attack up, and Trick Room comes out on Pori too, which is expected. Porygon really likes Trick Room. He maybe even is Mental Herb because he thinks he's going to get taunted by Whimsicott. But either way, if you see Porygon 2 on a team, especially this team, look at the speed tiers of this entire team. He's going to be going for Trick Room. I mean, maybe you like that because you have Groudon, but like, he's still slower. Every single thing could outspeed Groudon on this team. So, I don't exactly know what you're thinking. Porygon probably going for its best attacking move here. Primarina, maybe Hyper Voice is better, but that's fine. Moonblast comes out and gets a crit, which is nice. Groudon does come out, but he is undersped by both. He's helping handed, but he might die here. Ice Beam. Oh, Ice Beam goes into Whimsicott instead. I was expecting an Ice Beam, but not there. Weather Ball. Weather Ball Primarina is good tech because the sun does have the power of your Hyper Voice because of Liquid Voice. Hyper Voice is now a 90 base power water type attack. Then you double that because of Stab, and then you have that because of Sun, and it's just back down to 90 base power. Meanwhile, Weather Ball is 100 base power. And if he is a ground type. I forgot about. So I think Hyper Voice still does more damage. It's 1.5 times boost for Stab, by the way. So it would be doubled because it's super effective to 180, then halved because of Sun to 90, then 1.5 from Stab, and I think it actually does make more sense to click Hyper Voice, but it doesn't really matter. Precipice Blade comes out because he lives at 6%, is able to kill Primarina. And it's now Chi-Yu and Groudon, who are very fast, with Tailwind still up. I mean, like, there's no way you underspeed either of these guys. Terra Water actually makes a lot of sense for Chi-Yu. Terra Fire, just because you want to Terra something, I guess. There goes Chi-Yu. And there goes Groudon. So, wow, it was decently well played by TBL. That damage of Precipice Blades on the Porygon 2 makes me think it's almost like it has to be Eviolite to take 42% for Precipice Blade. It's definitely Eviolite. Not Mental Herb, so you can taunt it with Whimsicott. He doesn't have a Follow Me user, pretty clearly. He has Friggraph, so maybe you're thinking, oh, he'll switch out Primarina into Friggraph, and then I can't taunt him. But then he can't attack with Primarina, and if he's going for taunt with Porygon 2, you get a free attack with Chiyu, right? Or like I don't really. It's kind of hard to argue for not taunting there. Maybe Whimsicott just doesn't have taunt. We've already seen 3 of his moves. He probably just doesn't have taunt. Which I would 100% bring against the Trick Room team because he needs to taunt somehow. Maybe he just didn't want to use any prankster move with that targets the other team because of Frigraph, but like you can't be that afraid of one mon. You have to like plan for it, obviously, but you can't build your entire team like excluding that. You got drought tracing or tracing drought is actually good for it's just me here. It's kind of funny. Prankster would be funny too. But wouldn't really matter. Oh, and no taunt again. He probably just doesn't have taunt. Precipice Blades comes out, does nothing, and Trick Room comes out. Alright. It's 31% Groudon with the special attack up now. Precipice Blades does connect, thankfully, and anti-Trick Room. Okay. So, instead of going for a taunt on Whimsicott, which he probably just forgot to give or just chose not to give because of Frigraph, he goes for anti-Trick Room with Cresselia, and he doesn't lead Cresselia because maybe that's too obvious. He wants to wait for Trick Room to come up first, turn 1, but she's going to click. I mean, TBL's going to click Trick Room turn 1. You let him get 1 free turn, which he uses for Rain Dance. We now know that he has Trick Room, Terra Blast, Ice Beam, and Rain Dance on Pori 2, which is good coverage, actually. But like he doesn't have like Thunderbolt, let's say, or I don't know what else he would run. He probably, maybe we know he doesn't have Protect at least, like Primarina does. I think it's yes, it's not a bad strategy of using Cresselia for anti-Trick Room. But you don't want Groudon to be a sitting duck in front of Primarina. Like it did only take 31%, meaning it. We know it's not AV. It's probably especially bulky. But if Porygon 2 had gone for Ice Beam 2, then that's a lot of damage on the Groudon. Or if Rain Dance. If actually the worst case scenario for you, it's just me, is Porygon 2 wins the speed tie because these two things are speed tying. I don't think he thought about that. I don't think I would say if you're going to run Rain Dance on P2, you want to guarantee that he's slower than Primarina. So I know that TBL is in the chat, and he said that the last people on P2 is Terra Blast. That was revealed last game. We can see Trick Room, Terra Blast, Ice Beam, and now Rain Dance. So we know that he doesn't have Protector, doesn't have another move like that. I guess we just know his moveset pretty much and his item. But worst case scenario is Porygon 2 is built to always underspeed Primarina by 1, which I think makes a lot of sense. Because then you go for Rain Dance on Porygon 2, which is guaranteed to move first, and then Hyper Voice does more damage. We see the opposite happens here, meaning Hyper Voice is 31% instead of 62%, or I think it's double. Actually, the Sunlight was up, so it's even more of a difference. Going from a Hyper Voice, a Water type Hyper Voice in Sun to in Rain is a huge difference. So if P2 were built to be like always slower, like even if it was just 1 point, that would be very good for TPL here. Unfortunately, it's not like that. And Cresselia is able to get up Trick Room. Sorry for that little rant. Primarina protects because he's probably just going for another Trick Room, which he is able to get up. Switches out back into Groudon to get up the Sun. He just wanted to do a double switch. Cresselia is doubled and turns back the Trick Room right away. Okay, that's kind of funny. He's probably going for the exact same thing again. And Cresselia is going to Lunar Blessing. Okay, he's just going to let him get up Trick Room again because he's just going to keep clicking anti-Trick Room. This is pretty funny. Primarina goes for Weather Ball, which picks up the Cresselia kill. Wow, Porygon lives on 1%. That's a kill on Prim. Unfortunately for Um, it's just me. He forgot that we already saw Weather Ball do 51% to Cress, so you're not gonna be able to. You're not gonna be able to get a. Sorry. I lost my train of thought. You're not gonna be able to get off another anti-trick room because you already know that you take that much damage. Um, so on this turn, letting him click trick room and just, I mean, maybe you think that he's not going to double into you with Porygon because you know that I take 51% around, I'll live a Weather Ball, but we already saw him on this turn when Trick Room is up, and Cresselia had already shown to go for anti-Trick Room. We've already shown that he wants to double up into Cresselia, which makes perfect sense. But he just does the same thing here, and Cresselia dies because he's not at full health anymore. I think now, if it's just me, you're still in a losing situation because he has Trick Room up, which you want. He underspeeds your whole team with his whole team. And Ursaluna especially can get off an Oko and a Chi-Yu unless he switches into Whimsicott, which kind of makes sense. But P2 gets off a free attack into Groudon probably, which is not great. He does switch in Whimsicott. Okay, that makes a lot of sense because you expect a ground type move. Rain Dance comes out and Swords Dance. I'm sorry, I don't think that's a good play at all. I know you need damage here, but getting off a free kill on P2, which means it can't get rid of your Sun, which we already know it can. It can't get off an Ice Beam into either Whimsicott or Groudon. Like, Porygon 2 is not great to have, right? And if you get to see what his last one is, force him out. It was something like Skeletor, he's weak to Groudon. If it's something like Frigoraph, he's maybe more of a support mon, then that's good for you because you're able to overpower him with something like Chi-Yu. Or if it's Necrozma, you also have Chi-Yu in the back. You can maybe try and stall out the end of Trick Room. Clicking Precipice Blades here on a -1 Ursaluna, which if you're switching into Whimsicott from Chi-Yu, you're expecting a headlong rush. You're never going to click Earthquake with Porygon with your partner at 1%. So it's almost definitely going to be Headlong Rush, right? Or Facade, but you're not burned yet. So you're almost definitely clicking Headlong Rush. And your two options are the Fire type or the Ground type. You're going to click it into the Fire type. So the switch in Whimsicott makes perfect sense here. I think maybe TBL could have read that. But I 100% get that play. Now, if you're going for that play, you have to understand that he's going to be -1, and Precious Blades does a lot more to a -1 mon than a neutral mon. And Porygon's at 1%. So there's everything is telling you to click Precious Blades here. And you go for a Swords Dance, hoping you're going to live and letting Ursaluna get off a burn and everything. You take a lot of damage there, and you die to Porygon. Yeah. Now that's just tragic. You get the Sunny Day up for Chi-Yu, but so what? I mean, Chi-Yu's dead to Ursaluna here. He facades, even though he could just headlong. He just doesn't want to lose the special attack or defense drops. And that's GG's. Wow. So that was an unfortunate set for It's Just Me. I think the worst play was this one of just like, or sorry, this one, the turn before. You've already been doubled up into Cresselia, and you go for Lunar Blessing, hoping you won't get doubled the next turn, even though he already showed back on this turn that he wants nothing more than to double Cresselia when Trick Room is up to stop it from flicking Trick Room again. You assume he won't, and he does, and you get punished for it. And then the next worst play is correctly reading the switch and not taking advantage of it at all, and clicking Swords Dance instead of Precious Blades. Groudon underspeeds, or is outsped by Porygon 2 in Rain, and Precipice Blades, like, Rain is going to get up either way, right? Theoretically. So clicking Precipice Blades makes even more sense, because now that Porygon 2 is done clicking Rain Dance, he's only going to click Ice Beam. And if you're planning on clicking Sunny Day with Whimsicott, You can do that, and Porygon 2 will be dead, so he literally can't click it anymore. Going for Sword Stance there, that's a Dallas kind of play. It's greedy. You assume you're gonna live a double up, which now that Ursaluna is burned, which he wasn't before, now that he is, and Porygon 2 has Ice Beam, you're just kind of in a lost situation here. You're gonna get doubled, and yeah, it's game over, unfortunately. I think the moral of the story, if it's just me, is your opponent can double up into you, and you have to try and guess when they're going to do that, or guess who's going to be attacked. We can see pretty clearly in like that this with the switch to Whimsicott that he knows like generally when to switch, and like he's definitely not an idiot, but like if you prove that you know what you're doing and prove that you're not an idiot, don't go making stupid plays. Like it feels like a half perfect play, right? This one, where you switch into Whimsicott, which is 100% the right thing. Then you click Precious Blades. Porygon 2 dies. You can set up Sun the next turn. Ursaluna takes a lot of damage, but then you go for Sword Stance. Like it's just a little disappointing. Sorry to spend so much time on this matchup more than others. But it's frustrating how he led Primarina and Porygon 2, and then Ursaluna in the back, both games, and it worked perfectly both times because really just not a whole lot of improvement from It's Just Me. Disappointing. He has a great team in my opinion. Like if you look at this team, just even this 6 Pokemon, Arcanine, who is incredibly strong, with Intimidate if you want it, probably just Rockhead to just do insane amounts of damage and not take recoil. You get Chi-Yu, who hits insanely hard. Groudon, who does, especially if you have like Gravity to make those Precious Blades 100% accurate. But instead, you hit Precious Blades every time you click it, and still get punished. So that's unfortunate. Anyways, let's move on. Here's my matchup with OK. If you want to watch it a little more in depth, you can watch my video on it. Another shameless plug. You can watch that video. I heard the guy who filmed it is pretty cool. But anyways, this is me versus OK. Very scared going into this matchup because we were both 2-0. And I think his team is insanely good. I made a tier list earlier. I think it was before week 1, honestly. But based on just the strength of the team, not the coaches, I had OK in like the top of A tier, I think, or something. But like, I think that some teams like Voids and Cromp, who I'm fighting next week, unfortunately, and you've Bosie's team and OK's team and Charcoal Oven's team, they're all like incredibly scary, and it's up to the coach, but like how good the team is, obviously, but they're very easy to use and very good, like just strong teams. Sunroom teams are a little bit harder to use, but still, this is a pretty good team. So off the get-go, I make a really bad mistake. I'm like, all right, Terra Water Urshifu is Oko on Indeedee because I'm Choice Scarf, right? And then Iron Boulder can get off an attack to Lunala, and even if he is able to get up Trick Room, which I can't really stop here, I can at least, do some damage guaranteed to Lunala to break the Shadow Shield and kill Indeedee. That'd be pretty nice, right? Except I'm not Choice Scarf, I'm Choice Band. So I Terra Water, and then Iron Boulder moves first, which does a lot of damage. And then I Oko with Surging Strikes. I do 38% damage with Terra Water. That means I would have more than killed, right? I could have not Terra Water, done the exact same thing, been completely fine, unless I'm expecting like I guess a Psychic type Expanding Force from Lunala, which I'm not. I'm expecting a Trick Room from Lunala. So I just forget my speed because I think I've run Urshifu with Choice Scarf all of for my first 2 weeks. I'm just used to him being like the fastest thing on my team besides like Sneasler with Unburden or like Quark Drive on Boulder or Treads. So I'm just an idiot and forget that. And now I pay the price because Helping Hand Meteor Beam is just an Oko on Urshifu. not great. But Iron Bolt is able to get off some damage to break Shadow Shield. Comfey, unfortunately, can heal that back up if he wants. We go for Quark Drive on speed, which is really not helping me here, but Lunala getting that up is really annoying too. Thankfully, Miraidon is AV here and is able to Snarl, so makes Comfey weaker if he's going for Draining Kiss, and makes Lunala weaker, which is great because that loses. It's already used its power up for Meteor Beam, so it can't make its special attack stronger anymore, unless it wants to spend 2 turns clicking Meteor Beam again, which it never wants to do ever. Because why would it? Terra Fairy makes sense there, honestly, just because I'm probably clicking Snarl, or I would assume that you know that, by now. But now it's at neutral, and any more Snarls will make it below neutral. And Mighty Cleave doing 45% is unfortunate because now it can be healed back up to full with another floral healing, except it is for Helping Hand instead of floral healing, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Maybe he thinks he can Oko something, or maybe it's more worth it to go for it there. But as you can see, I do live the Dazzling Gleam with both, which is huge for me. If he had gone for Floral Healing and then like Moongeist into Iron Boulder or just Delium again or whatever, then I'm not in a bad spot, or he's not in a bad spot. The only problem is this Lunala would be negative still. So he just wanted to go for a big play to hopefully kill both, or to kill at least Miraidon. So that way it's now a 2v3 with Trick Room still up for another turn. But instead, I'm able to get off a nice kill there. And in this situation, it is now a 3v2. So Comfey, I'm expecting to Draining Kiss one of my 2 Mons, and Torkoal to probably Eruption or something. I have Sneasel in the back, so I have a few options. I could either, 1, switch into Sneasler, probably sack it, and then it still be in Oko range of Comfey, or I can just let my Mon die, and then go for like Iron Boulder, like Mighty Cleave into Torkoal, or like Electric Drift into Comfey or something. It doesn't matter. Like, I can get off some damage here at least. And I go for that. I go for Protect, actually, which is fine. I go for it because I know that Trick Room is ending. Iron Boulder is probably going to die to Draining Kiss, but that's okay. Because he goes for Eruption, and I live, and now Trick Room is over. And this is the big thing, because I am on Burden with Electric Seed. I think I've run that all 3 weeks now. But Sneasler and Iron Boulder can double into Torkoal. Mighty Cleave will kill him if he goes for Protect. I'm expecting Comfey to go for Draining Kiss into Boulder, and Torkoal to click Eruption or Protect. He could go for Trick Room with Comfey and Protect with Torkoal, but then he just dies. He dies 100% to Iron Boulder. I think it actually kind of makes more sense for Sneasler to go for an attack into Comfey, but if he doesn't click Protect with Torkoal, then it makes more sense for me to target it with Sneasler, because let's say he goes for an attack with both, then damage on to Torkoal makes the most sense. So it's like there's a few schools of thought there. Either he protects Torkoal and goes for Draining Kiss, in which case this is a bad play to double into Torkoal, or he goes for Protect Trick Room, in which case this is a good turn, or he goes for attack, in which case this is a good turn. So like, unless he goes for Protect Draining Kiss into Iron Boulder, this is a good turn for me. But even if he goes for that, that means Comfey or Trick Room isn't up, so Torkoal still is within I think Oko range, or he takes a lot of damage, and you can't protect him because he has to protect again. You have to get the 1 in 3rd chance. So I think really the double up in Torkoal is the best play here. I attack and protect there, but Mighty Cleave breaks Protect, so, or hits through Protect. So even though Iron Boulder does die and Trick Room does come up, this is unlosable for me. You can see it did 80, or it did 15%, sorry, and I do 94% to him. So yeah, that's GG, and Dire Claw never misses. So that was it was actually a close game, but it was an unlosable end game, which is ideal. It could have been a lot closer, or could have been a lot easier of a win if I played a little better, but yeah. Now game 2, we have Urshifu and Grimstar all lead, because I'm expecting him to go for Indeedee, But instead, I know that Roaring Moon is with a guaranteed OKO from my close combat, unless he's Terra Flying Acrobatic, which I know he's not Terra Flying, he's Terra Ground, then Urshifu is safe. Guarantee. I don't think I'm almost confident that Dragon Claw would not kill, even with photosynthesis attack. I think um I think that with CC, it's like okay, whether or not he Terras and Urshifu lives no matter what, so I can always kill Roaring Mood here. Theoretically, he could switch out into Lunala, but I really don't see him going for a hard switch into Lunala in front of both of these Mons, because if I go for anything else, or if I go for either a Spirit Break or a false surrender into the Roaring Moon slot, then he's in a much worse spot, like off the get-go. I really don't see that working out for him. So I go for a Spirit Break into Torkoal and a CC into Roaring Moon. He switches Torkoal into Indeedee, which actually works for me. And even though Grimmsnarl gets OHKO'd, this is by far a winning trade for me. Because Grimmsnarl was a support Mon who probably wasn't doing a whole lot, honestly, with Indeedee on the field now. So I'm able to immediately override his terrain, which is perfect. Even though I don't have Grimmsnarl anymore, I'm able to get rid of his terrain. Rhydon set up in a great spot. Urshifu is choice banded into CC, so he has to click that into Indeedee, unfortunately. He does click Terra Fairy, but I can go for Snarl to lower the special attack of both, and then Indeedee is guaranteed dead here from close combat. He gets a free Trick Room, which is unfortunate. Oh, sorry, I forgot. He could get up a free Trick Room, which means it's Miraidon, Urshifu, and whoever I have in the back versus Torkoal and Lunala in Trick Room, which is actually not a bad spot for him, except Torkoal can't really hit either of these guys super well. But instead he goes for Deep Gleam, which is a kill into Urshifu, I'll give you that, and does some damage to Miraidon. But he already knew either I was AV or that I took like no damage from this, because you can see him. He's Terra Fairy, right? Degleaming, or that's Moongeist Beam. Where does he go for it? Here. Helping Hand, Terra Fairy, Degleam, does 54%. That's Terra Fairy, Helping Hand, Degleam. It's hitting both targets, yeah, but you're hitting both targets here too. So that's supposed to be a really, really strong attack. That would normally almost OHKO Miraidon and do a lot of damage to Miraidon, but you already know, or can assume that I'm AV. But with -1 special attack, and without the Helping Hand, you only do 25%. So you kill Urshifu, I'll give you that. But now it's Torkoal out of Trick Room, which is incredibly weak, and Iron Treads versus Torkoal out of Trick Room and Lunala versus Iron Treads and Miraidon. Now, I have Discharge on Miraidon, so this is GG's. I click Discharge to do a lot of damage to both of them, and I click Steel Roller or Headlong Rush, not Headlong Rush, High Horsepower into Lunala. Lunala dies, and Torkoal takes a good bit of damage, and then I win, right? Instead, I stupidly, which I have Discharge, I click Electro Drift into the Protecting Torkoal. So, I Terra Water, which makes a lot of sense. Steel Roller, which I go for instead, does not kill, which I think it does, and Electro Drift does not do any damage because it goes for Protect. So that was a really poor play. Discharge does nothing to my Iron Treads, and so there's really legitimately no reason for me to not click Discharge here. Discharge does a lot of damage to Torkoal, even if it doesn't OHKO, which I'm pretty sure Electro Drift does OHKO Torkoal, and Discharge doesn't. But that doesn't matter, because Torkoal's entire power, or the only way it can really do damage, it has Earth Power or whatever, which doesn't do a ton. It mainly clicks Eruption, based on how much health it has left. It can also go for things like Overheat or Heat Wave, but those aren't as strong. So just doing damage to Torkoal is important. Discharge makes complete sense here. Electro Drift makes no sense. So he goes for Eruption, which OHKOs Treads, and he goes for Meteor Beam, but he's at -1 special attack. So this does not kill me because I'm AV. And now I click Discharge, which makes sense. And now it's Terra Water Miraidon versus Torkoal. In Sun, by the way. But Torkoal's at 62%, so Eruption doesn't actually do that much damage. It does a good bit of damage, But and it's still stronger than Heat Wave, which is 90 base power, or 95 base power. No, it's yeah, 95 base power and 9 accuracy. But instead, he goes for Overheat, which I live at 6%, which I think I always lived, but it's just very close. And then I finally killed Torkoal. So that set was closer than it needed to be. If I'd just been smart and clicked Discharge, it would have been even closer. But yeah, I think I played well throughout that set. I think he played well throughout that set too, but no Conkeldurr is crazy. If you look at the MVP list, I'll show you the MVP at the end of the stream. But Conkeldurr and Lunala are both top 5, I'm pretty sure, which is crazy. I have no idea why he didn't bring Conkeldurr game 2. It's a great mon. Torkoal in the back both games is a little crazy, especially when 2 of my best mons are water and dragon type, and you already know that I'm Terra Water on several things. I'm Terra Water on all 3 of these mons here. I'm Terra Ground on Iron Dreads to not be weak to fire anymore. I'm Terra Rock on Iron Boulder, but I was already a rock type that can hit through Protect. So after it didn't work game 1, or Torkoal didn't work very well game 1, I think you need to just abandon, give up on Roaring Moon getting that photosynthesis boost. It's not that important, and just run Conkeldurr in Trick Room, and you're set. But he didn't go for that, and so it was a much easier time for me. If he had brought Conkeldurr, it might have been a different game, but I'm glad that I still played well, even though I lived 1 mon at 6% and 1 mon at like 73%. Yeah, it still felt like good wins because Torkoal, like this, sorry. If we look at this situation at the start of turn 5, this is, unless he crits me, I'm pretty sure this is unlosable for me. If you look at this situation, this is unlosable for me. So, even though the games were incredibly close, the very end of both games were like pretty much guaranteed for me. So that helps me be a little more confident. And the fact that he was 2-0 and has an insanely good team helps me a little more confident. Because now I'm 3-0, which is great. And it really helps build the confidence of this team. I've always thought this team, I put it as the second best team in the league. I'm fighting the team that I think is the best team in the league. Who's 2-1. Unfortunate game 1, which was super close, and then dominated week 2. Is he 2-1? Actually, I don't know. We have to watch his matchup and find out. I think he's 2-1, but I don't remember if he wins this against a Turnham or not. So we'll have to see. But I'm up against him next week. Anyways, this is the final set, unfortunately, because we did have to skip over AMLO Dude versus Bosi because Bosi was not responding. It's a forfeit for him. AMLO Dude actually was doing a great job reaching out. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And then additionally, Voids and SMB had a little conflict where Voids reached out on Sunday and said, "Hey, sorry SMB, I'm only going to be available from Wednesday and before. If you can make that work, or if you could just let me know." SMB didn't see the message until Thursday, so that's on SMB. Because Voids he pinged him several times and let him know early on that he wasn't going to be available. That's a forfeit win for him. And so we had 2 forfeits, which is unfortunate. But it means this is our last game. So let's watch. And it means everyone who played has a better chance for Elysium. They do also for Fields of Punishment, but it's interesting. Wow. Okay. Off rip, I want to say that Eternum is a madman. This is the second week in a row where he has run Zamazenta without the shield. It makes sense, honestly, both weeks, because you're fighting a dragon type both times. You have Flare Rough. And Maradon's not particularly good in Zamazenta, but Urshifu is, who's on my team, and he's like really strong, and Sneasel is too. And Iron Tread's really good into Zamazenta, but base Zamazenta, they're good into steel types, and he's not a steel type anymore. Same thing with Koraidon being a fighting type, and Charisma probably has Earthquake and Hitmontop, and Ogerpon. All of these guys are like good into Zamazenta with a shield, but without a shield, they're just neutral. And so, even though you're weaker to Flutter Mane, that's kind of it. I guess Necrozma too a little, um, but it does make a lot of sense, honestly. Um, so also Hippowdon lead is really funny. Like he brought Hippowdon against me and just didn't use him. He did not make any sense against me because I don't use weathers. Um, I mean maybe if you want to, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially when you're running Zamazenta without a shield because now he's not a steel type, so he still takes the chip damage from Sandstorm. Um, but against the Sun team, it actually is pretty good as a lead. Protect here kind of makes sense because you're expecting a Sleep Powder. Yeah. And Protect on Koraidon is actually nice. You block the Yawn, and everyone takes chip besides Hippowdon. A switch out makes a lot of sense. Helping Hand and probably attack there. Or no, you just kill Mulligan. That works really well for a turn, actually. That was a good turn. Unfortunately, the Sun is now back up. You can Protect, which makes some sense, honestly. Photon Geyser probably does a lot. Oh, wow, it does not do a lot. I'm wrong. Yawn comes out, and I'm expecting probably another Yawn into Koraidon. Or Play Rough. Oh, wow. I forgot that he's faster now, because with a shield, Zamazenta is actually slower than Koraidon and Miraidon. But without a shield, he's actually faster. So he's able to OHKO. No Terra. This has actually been the downfall of Cromp, is he has not Terra'd Koraidon in situations where Koraidon is an easy OHKO. And so that's unfortunate. And now you have an Ogerpon that's going to fall asleep next turn because he can't switch out. And in a Charisma, he's probably going to get yawned versus Zamazenta and 2 Mons in the back. Protect here makes a lot of sense because... Oh, Terra Fairy did not make sense. I didn't really catch that. But Protect makes a lot of sense because you want Ogerpon to fall asleep. And then Terra Fairy, it feels like a waste. Maybe you're trying to live so you can yawn, but I don't know what you are weak to against these guys. I don't know what they're... Maybe he's expecting a like a Horn Leech or a Wood Hammer from Ogerpon, but still, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Shenpao comes out, and they should definitely go for Necrozma. The Protect there makes a lot of sense because doubling Necrozma makes a lot of sense here, and now that he can't Protect anymore, it makes even more sense to double Necrozma. He doesn't... Wow. You've already seen him click Protect last turn. He has now a 33% chance to get it. At least body press him, man. Or crunch too, honestly. You could just get off a lot of damage. But they kill Ogerpon, which is fine. Unfortunately, you lose Zamazenta here, so now it's a 2v1. It's Mewtwo. But why Protect? I don't get that either. Maybe just scope him out. Mewtwo with Dark Pulse is interesting. Oh wow, crunches a lot of damage. So this is probably GG's. Yeah, it is. But you let Necrozma get a lot of kills first. Protect. He's not even leftovers. I don't really get to Protect here. Because you just died a crunch. I guess he's just stalling. That's fine. But yeah, it felt like the tournament kind of had him. And then towards the end here, like this is where he just kind of starts selling, honestly. Like he's in a winning spot. It's a 2v4. Then you waste a Terra. You Protect, which is the right play, 100%. But like you wasted your Terra for no reason, really. And now we have a 3v2 and one of your Mons is sleeping. So this should be a win, even if you double into his Protect. That's fine. Because this turn you double into him again and he just dies. Like Body Press and Crunch is just an OHKO on Necrozma. We've already seen that. That's just like 40%. Body Press is even more. So Necrozma's dead here, right? At least Body Press him, right? But instead you just let him get off a lot of damage, and that's, yeah. You're able to win it because you have more health, but it's not a super smart play. I thought Cromp was 2-1, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to see who wins this next round. Helping Hand onto Mewtwo, and it's Protect, double Protect. Wow, that's... I get that you want to try and scope out his moves, but he could so easily click Trick Room. Oh, I guess he doesn't want to click Trick Room. He doesn't want to click Trick Room here. Maybe he's hoping for a Trick Room. Huh. Interesting play of going for a double protect there, but now you can't protect anymore. Shooting out there is actually not bad because Flutter Mane is not the strongest thing in the world, especially as Terra Fairy. You baited out the protect turn 1. I guess it was probably just a bait out to protect, and it worked. And now you just are in a great spot if you're Cromp, actually. I think there's no way he loses this. I mean, you get off a free Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam into a Terra Dark Mewtwo, so he's already wasted his Terra, and your Terra is working really in your favor. You outspeed both, which you did anyways, but and now Crowdon's on the field who outspeeds both too. Oh, he goes for Deagling here. Why would you switch into Zamazenta? I guess you're just sacking them. Or you know you have Roselli Berry. Okay, I guess. Still doesn't make sense though, because you just die in this turn to Deagling. Alright, that's probably just an OKO on both. Wow, no Deagling? Why not Deagling? I guess you know you kill here, so you don't need to. I guess I would just attack with Karaya. I would go Deagling here for sure, because you've already seen with Roselli Berry that it does 40%. So without Roselli Berry, Zamazenta's dead here guaranteed, right? He can't switch into Mewtwo, or else Mewtwo dies. So Deagling kills Zamazenta and importantly breaks Sash on Chen Pao. Now Chen Pao, maybe he already knew he wasn't. No, he already knew he was a Life Orb. So I guess it makes somewhat sense because you're just gonna kill both either way. But if he didn't know that he was Life Orb, then it would make a lot more sense to Deagling. So this play is actually fine, and now you outspeed, so you guaranteed kill. And that was a very easy win for Cromp. Wow, going from a rough loss to a pretty dominant win is really unfortunate for a tournament. I'm curious to see who wins this last one, because that was two very different games. It is Zamazenta off Rip and Flutter Mane. If it's a switch into Crydon, that means you outspeed, but it's not. So you are down to Sash now. Flutter Mane, you just eat a Heavy Slam, and you go for Taunt. All of that just for Taunt. We'll see if that's worth it. Maybe. Actually, Indeedee doesn't even get Follow Me. Male Indeedee. Maybe you don't want Helping Hands. But I don't know what else you'd be looking right now. Maybe Trick Room, you don't want to Trick Room, but Trick Room kind of helps you more because you have Necrozma in the back. So, don't really get that thought process. You eat a Body Press too, so now it's a 2v4. Your Training Force is nothing. And you Photon Gauge are going to do a lot of damage, but he lives. Even with a crit, that's 57%. So, if you're Cromp, you're in a losing spot here, honestly. E-Force does a lot of damage in a Crydon, but you probably attack Indeedee first. You probably don't kill, though. So you can get attacked from both of these guys, and you're kind of in a bad spot. You eat a Body Prep. Sorry, what? We're here. You outspeed. Guarantee. Like, there's no way they can outspeed you unless they Scarf Koraidon, which, spoiler alert, he's Life Orb. You outspeed. You go for a Body Prep. Maybe you know what? Or play rough, sorry, into Koraidon. He hasn't Terra'd. That's probably the thought process. He's Terra Fire. Probably the thought process of like, oh, he might Terra Fire. I want to try and bait out the Terra Fire, and this is a better play just to get out the Sun. Okay, this play does make somewhat sense, and he protects, so a play rough would be bad anyways. Okay, you bait out Protect, that's not bad. A Diglett comes out, does nothing. And now that's perfect. If you're Cromp, you want to target next to Indeedee. You don't want to go for Indeedee, because Indeedee's not doing anything, really. He's going to Helping Hand. That's pretty much all he's going to do. Crydon goes for a Terra Fairy. Does a lot of damage. Only hits 3 times, because we know he's not loaded dice. Expanding Force does some damage, and Photon Guys are kill on a Powdon. And then Zamazenta comes in, is able to pick up the kill on Koraidon if he wants. I would probably just go for E-Force and Body Press and Necrozma. That makes a lot more sense here. Or Protect, I guess, because he might Protect. Yeah, if he attacked with Koraidon and protected there, I guess that makes sense. And now, because of this chip and because you're Terra Steel, you don't take any chip. So you want to body press into Necrozma for sure and E-Force for sure. I think that's 100% the play. Oh, but he's +1 speed. He's +1 speed, so that's actually really bad for you. Because now Necrozma versus the world, Necrozma wins. And he Okos indeedy. Wow. And now, Dark Pulse is your only hope. Oh, wait, maybe... Never mind. It's now a 3-hit kill. And knock off Okos. That crit I don't think mattered. Wow. That was a crazy set. That was a crazy last set. That was so back and forth. Wow. Sorry, I'm a little stunned. It's just because it was well played on both sides. Really, there were a handful of like mistakes, but I did understand a lot of the play. That was well played on both. I mean, I feel bad for Turnham. He's 1-2 now, I believe, and he's been playing great. Like he does not deserve to be 1-2. He just fought me and Cromp back to back, which is unfortunate because it's like Miraidon then Koraidon back to back, which are both two very good mons. But dang, that was a good set. I want to rewatch that. But thinking, moving to talking about Elysium and Fields of Punishment, you can't really blame Trippy for missing going 0 for 7 on Oko moves. Like that's just, you can blame him for only getting off 2 attacks game 2 and only getting off 6 attacks game 1. Letting Charcoal set up, but like you just got unlucky, and like that's gonna happen. So, and same with Charcoal, you can't really give him like an insane win because he just abused the fact that his opponent was unlucky, and just he got lucky, and so that won it for him. I think Nick is a real contender for Elysium just for this game too, especially. He played that very well. If we go and just like watch just kind of quickly what happens here, that's not a great play for him, and he just abuses the fact that his opponent makes a misplay here. Not a crazy play going for that. And now it's a 2v3, and you're kind of in a losing spot. You abuse your opponent misplay with Perish Song, but like because Amoonguss is able to survive and gets powder, but like none of these plays are actually that crazy. Like he makes the right play a lot. It would mainly if you're giving him Elysium, it's got to be for game 2. If you're Screwbite, you had a few moves like Turret Ghost, which actually did work for you, so that's not even that bad of a play. You had Perish Song, which is not great, because like it just hurt you more than it helped you. And then there's game 2, obviously, which is really, really rough for you. So Screwbite maybe is a contender for Fields of Punishment, more so than a contender for sure, just because we have 5 matchups. And the only other real contender is it's just me. I think if we watch back like this game, you can see like the Tailwind into Trick Room game 1 was brutal. I don't know what he was thinking there. Maybe he's just thinking, oh, Cresselia can get rid of that, no problem, but he gets doubled and dies, and Cresselia gets doubled a lot. We'll see that just so much this set. He just gets doubled and dies. He's just eating these attacks, and it's really rough, honestly. It's like kind of painful watching just how much damage he takes. And yeah, it feels like he just kind of didn't do anything all game pretty much. Like he clicked 1 Precious Blades. Whimsicott had 3 prankster moves, or 3 attacks, and 3 moves, and none of them were really that helpful. Cresselia didn't do anything and died. Chayu didn't do anything and died. Then game 2, it was much closer, but the sword, you know what? I'm sorry, it's just me, but for this play where you predict the switch and you capitalize on it by clicking Swords Dance instead of Precipice Blades, that's that plus losing 3-1 game 1, and letting Corselli get doubled so much and just not doing anything about it, plus having your opponent go for the exact same strategy with the exact same mons and losing to it 2 games in a row. I'm sorry, but our week 3 Fields of Punishment has got to be It's Just Me. I think TBL, he did play pretty well. I'll give him that. He did play pretty well. But when your opponent makes the exact same strategy for 2 games, no matter what that strategy is or if it's hard to stop, if you don't adapt at all, you bring the exact same 4 mons, follow pretty similar strategies both games, and you get like the only success you get is reversing Trick Room like a few times, only for it to come back up later. That it feels like just such a waste to me. Like there's several instances where like Trick Room's not up anymore, but you capitalize on it by switching out and letting him protect and Trick Room, right? And then once again he goes for protect Trick Room and you don't capitalize at all. And like that, seeing that happen and seeing just that Swords Dance play was just, that was a Dallas play right there. I'm sorry, but that has to be our Fields of Punishment for this week. My condolences. Now moving on to Elysium. This is one of the few weeks where I feel like I have a chance. I did make a few dumb plays. Like if you look at this turn especially, it just kind of hurts to watch. That's just so much damage into Ndidi for no reason. And Ndidi would die from 1 Surging Strikes without Terra probably, or with Terra it okos. But like if I want to kill Ndidi that bad, just say so. Like I mean, damn. And then like other than that, I do play well. Urshu dies here. I already wasted the turn on him, so it doesn't really that's not that bad of a play. But it gives me a free switch into Miraidon. And I think I play pretty well with Miraidon here. I just click Snarl. It's very tempting to go for an Electro Drift, but because I know I outspeed my own Iron Boulder in Trick Room because he's 4 drive speed, it makes a lot more sense to just click Snarl, especially to get rid of that special attack drop. So I just click Snarl again because I know that I live this. I actually wasn't expecting him exactly to go for Helping Hand Degleam, but still I knew that I would live that. I'd done the calc before like there, and I'm able to kind of get Lunala in this situation where I'm now able to kill it if he really punish him for not clicking Floral Healing there. Even if he did click it, he's now at -1 special attack, which puts me in an even worse spot. Yeah, you see here, now he would be at -1 if he didn't die. Like he's at -1 here. And I'm able to kind of punish him no matter what he does. So he's either at -1 but at decent health, or he's and can get off some damage, or he's in this situation where he's just dead. And this turn I think I play pretty well. I protect and let Miraidon die because I don't care what Torkoal does. It won't affect me. Because I know Caesar can close this out. And this turn I think is also really well played. If he just goes for Draining Kiss on Iron Boulder and attack on Torkoal, I win, right? Because I can kill Torkoal and Comfey can't beat Caesar. If he goes for Protect Trick Room, which is what he goes for, then I win because I'm able to kill Torkoal, and even though Caesar isn't, we're once again in that end game of Caesar Comfey. Only situation is if he goes for Protect Torkoal and Draining Kiss on Iron Boulder and it kills, which it probably would from this range, and Caesar attacks and Protect. Then you're in a situation where it's Sneasler versus Torkoal and Comfey outside of Trick Room. So Comfey still needs to get up Trick Room, which is really hard to do. Because 1, I can either just kill it, or 2, I just attack Torkoal and Torkoal dies, and then it's Comfey versus Sneasler. So no matter what, I win if I click Mighty Cleave and Direct Line to Torkoal. If I double Torkoal, this is a win. Sure, I could go for an attack into Comfey, right? But then if he goes for attack, then I lose. So this is, in my opinion, a great play because the Direct Line doesn't do anything, but I win. If I think that this play guarantees a win for me. So I am pretty proud of that play. I set myself up for a winning situation no matter what he clicks, which is not an easy thing to do. And in this game too, I take a winning trade first thing, which is great. I lower the special attack of Indeedee if I live too, if he doesn't go for Ironhead, which I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting an Ironhead into Grimmsnarl, but it's still a winning trade. So I make a good play on Grimmsnarl and on Urshifu, no matter what he goes for. Here, I just kind of make the best of the situation. He Terra Fairies, which he kind of needs to because I'm clicking Snarl. But I kill Indeedee, and now it's a 2v3, except, or like, let's, realistically, I expect him to trick him here, right? And it's a 2v3 of Torkoal and Lunala, who's already wasted his Terra, and is no longer has Shadow Shield, and is already -1, versus Urshifu, Miraidon, and Urshifu at -2 defenses, and Miraidon and Iron Dreads, which could be bad in a situation of like Torkoal using Eruption and Lunala using D-Gleam, but because I'm AV, it's really not bad. Theoretically, I could also switch into Iron Treads and sack it to an Eruption just so I can have Urshifu back and dealing strong damage once again. But because he goes for D-Gleam here, even though Urshifu dies, he's out of Trick Room. And this is another situation where, had things played out differently, I think I'm still winning. So I make the right play for either situation, which I think is important. He goes for Protect here, and this and turn 1 of this game are the two bad plays I make. Steel Roller and Electro Drift is just not smart, except, unfortunately for him, it's still like a win. So I think that misplay really doesn't matter because I learn next immediately after from my mistake, and I live both, which is nice. I'm AV. AV's good, and I have some nice special bulk. And I live the overheat. So this shows the team building of Terra Water's good, the team building of my special defense, my bulk investment's good, and I played well. I think I have a solid case for Elysium. I think Charcoal's impossible to give it to just because of the Oko moves. Like your opponent just got unlucky, and you got really lucky. It's hard to really praise you too much for that. Nick, I think, played really well game 2 because it was just like a clean sweep. He just outplayed him in terms of like just pure power. But game 1 felt like there were a lot of like close. You did play pretty well. I'll give him that. He did take advantage of a lot of like situations. Like here, being able to do a lot of damage is nice, but you just take a losing trade really. And had Screwbite played better, he would be in a much better spot. Like Icy Wind there would have been so much better for him. Here you get off a lot of damage, yeah, and you get rid of the weather, but you still lose Latios. So he kind of screwed himself with Parasong too, and so you do take advantage of that. And Mungus lives, but like it's hard to, like, if he had gone for Ice Beam there and killed a Mungus, then it's suddenly Zacian. Let's rewatch this turn actually. Here, if you go for Ice Beam at Mungus and Behemoth Blade into a Mungus dies. Instead, we go for Behemoth Blade and he lives at 31%, which is within Ice Beam range, I think, pretty easily. Yeah, it did 34% last time, so we know Mungus dies here. But instead, he misplays and goes for Focus Blast. If he kills a Mungus, then it's a win, because he needs to kill Zacian, who is not asleep, actually. Zacian would be awake here, because yeah, no, he is asleep. He is asleep. But asleep Zacian and your Politoed versus Trapagos, it's still hard. But at least I think if you are the one to set up Terror Song, or maybe it's an order of speed. I think it's an order of speed. If you have the slower Mon, then you die last to Parasong. We'll have to see that. Yeah, the slower Mon dies last to Parasong. So if you're Screw Bite, you Ice Beam wouldn't do that. So it's hard to feel like it's as much of a win from Nick, just because his opponent did play worse overall. TBL did the same thing twice and it worked, so you can't really blame him. But it's hard to give him too much credit as well, just because your opponent is the Fields of Punishment player, and you did this. You didn't really switch it up. Last thing is either Turnham or Cromp. I think Turnham played well, but he did lose, so it's kind of hard to give him Elysium. And that was a pretty rough game one for Cromp. I don't want to rewatch every matchup, obviously, because we've already talked about them. But like, game 2 was really well played. Other than that, game 3 was still incredibly close. Game 1 was incredibly close. He played well, but there were times where like the tournament could have played better, and then he would have won. So I don't like giving myself Elysium, but I think it's just because every other set was either much closer or didn't feel like as solid of a win. And I do think I played pretty well. I had 2 close end games, but they were winning end games no matter what. So setting myself up and making the right plays a few times is big. So I'm going to give myself Elysium for this week. I really don't think I'll give myself Elysium in the future. I tried to avoid it always, just because it feels like I'm patting myself on the back or like patting my ego. But I think I did think I deserved it this week. And if it's not that other people played poorly, it's just there wasn't anyone who like felt like they deserved it as much, or played, like dominated in the same fashion. If he had brought Conkeldurr, this could have gone very differently. But I think I made the right play way more often. And I put myself in unlosable situations, unless you like. This one is actually unlosable. This one, like, he could crit over heat, but otherwise, it's a win. So, I'm going to give myself Elysium for this week. And yeah, again, I won't try and. I'm sorry for talking too much about this, but I feel like it's weird to give myself Elysium, but I'm gonna do it for this week. I've decided. And then let's move on to our final thing, the standings. All right, so if you look at the standings, we can see Amplitude is 3-0 because of that forfeit win, and Bosi is 3-0 because of that forfeit loss. We have some shifts. You'll notice that we have a lot of 1 and 2 people. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 1 and 2 people, which is really a lot of people. Then we have 3 3-0s and 3 2-1s, which is pretty cool. We have like 6 people who are all like with winning records. Voids actually has a winning record with a negative kill differential, which is hilarious. And you'll see TBL has the same kill differential, and even Bosi has the same kill differential as Voids. Even though Bosi's in 13th, I think that's partially because of the forfeit loss. I'm not sure. I might have to fix that, but at least TBL and Voids are in 10th and 6th respectively, and 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 respectively, even though they have the same kill differential, which is pretty funny. I also like that Charcoal, Amalo, and I have all dropped at least 1 round, even though we are all 3-0. So no one's perfect yet. Charcoal has a plus 12 differential, which is really helped by fighting Trippy here and losing 1 Mon. So, there's that. When I fought Trippy, I had 3 Mons left and I had 1 Mon left. Much closer match. But the standings are actually pretty close overall. We do have 2 losing teams in the top 8, but that's probably going to happen. That's because we are doing the thing where you can pick your opponent. The top three get to pick their opponent out of the bottom four in the playoffs. I think Bosey and Trippy, it's kind of hard. Like if Bosey's not as into it already, I feel like he's not um, scheduling far in advance, not responding as much. So if he had puts like more effort into this, I could see him making a turnaround because I think he really does have a good team. Trippy, if he keeps going with his strategy, I could see him 100% winning if he just gets lucky. I think he'll win at least 1 or 2 games, probably just one. But if he gets lucky, yeah, probably win. But I can't really see him more than getting 1 to 2 wins. Surprising opponents by going for non-Oko move strategies is probably his best bet. And then we have towards the top, we have a pretty comfortable top three, except you can look at Cromp and OK and Voids are all kind of close, especially Cromp and OK with their kill differentials, and especially Cromp with that one loss being week 1. If Cromp beats me this week, especially if he beats me 2-0, but or if he beats me 2-0, he surpasses me because I will have a +3 differential, he'll have a +4 differential. And if he beats me 2-1, then I'll be at +4 and he'll be at +3. So I'll be barely above him, but we'll have the same record. So either way, we'll see a shift in this top four, almost definitely. And yeah, that's about it for the stream. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting ODL, supporting my team. Hopefully, you better be supporting my team. We're 3-0. Hopefully, we can keep that going. But yeah, the team or the league is just kind of generally pretty tight. You can see a lot of people fighting for those bottom 2 playoff spots, and even those 2-1 teams don't feel they shouldn't feel too confident right now. Because or even us up here, we could easily dip into the lower half, and these 2-1 teams could either rise up or they could fall back down into the running with everyone else. So if a 1-2 team gets a win this week, moves back up into 2-2, and you're neutral, you're in a great spot. If you move down to 1-3, you start feeling a little more nervous because now you have to win 2 more games to get back to neutral, and there's only 4 more weeks in the season. So you're kind of in a worse spot. If you're in the 2-1 spot territory and you lose this week, that's worse for you as well because you're back down to neutral and you're back kind of in the running for like the middle spots or the bottom spots of playoffs. Which is really not ideal. You want to be like kind of solidly locked into playoffs, maybe even potentially competing for that 4th spot. And if you're in the 3-0 spots, you really want to just stay undefeated. Partially just because it feels good to be undefeated, but mainly so you can get to pick your opponent. Those top 3 spots are key because if you're 4th, you kind of get stuck with whoever you're stuck with. Top 3 gets to pick their opponent, and especially the number 1 spot is big, but just being able to pick your opponent at all is huge. Because you got to pick the better matchup. So let's say the playoffs end right now, and I see these bottom 4. I don't want to fight OK because I had a pretty close matchup with him, and Conqueror could be like pretty good into me. I fought Eternum, and it felt like my team was pretty good into his, so maybe I want to fight Eternum more, or like let's say Voids. I know he has Calyrex Ice Rider, who's good into Miraidon. Let's say I don't want to fight that. Then I can try not to pick him. If I'm the number 3 spot and I'm stuck between OK and Voids, I'm in a worse spot. But if I'm in the number 2 spot and the number 1 spot, I can make sure that I don't have to fight either of those guys. So people at the top are really trying to be able to choose their opponent, and more so than like the other people up there, or just being able to choose your opponent at all. People towards the middle, towards the upper middle, are trying to maybe be able to pick their opponent, but also just kind of stay solidly into playoff running, and not be one of those bottom people who can have their team picked. And these people who are trying to fight for the playoff spot are going to try and keep fighting. These 0-3 teams that need to turn it around if they want to get some wins. But yeah, that's about it for this stream. Thanks for tuning in once again. Let's do a quick rundown of the MVP race. You can see these top 15 here. I now have 2 in the top 15, which is cool. OK has 2 in the top 6 after losing 2-0. He lost 2-0, and he still has 2 in the top 6, which is crazy. Like no way. And Lunala only has 2 deaths, which were in my 2 matchups, I believe. I think he was 6-0 before that, or something along those lines. Charcoal, that fight against Trippy really helped Calyrex. Cromp, Necrozma is proving to be really, really strong. And you can see he still has 2 Mons in that top 15. What is most impressed me is how Walking Weight was extremely dominant week 1, right? He brought him game 2, but never, or week 2, but never sent him out into battle. And Flutterman was really the Mon that dominated week 2. And then, in Necrozma, actually. And then week 3 was the same thing of Necrozma and Fluttermane. So he was able to make 3 different Mons shine in 3 different weeks, which is really impressive. Another thing that is kind of mind-boggling is that we have Chen Pao and Zamazenta in this top 8 or top 7, which is amazing. I mean, like Eternum, that's very impressive. Making these 2 Mons, especially Chen Pao, who's so frail, making him 9 with only 4 deaths, actually not a whole lot. You can see Zamazenta has a lot more deaths than Chen Pao, which is kind of funny. But at the top of the leaderboard, Calyrex with only 1 death is impressive. I'm not really going for kill differential as much as you might unfortunately be able to tell from this. I just want to win, and I care about that more. But still, kill differential is nice, and that's the reason I'm 3rd right now instead of 1st. So yeah, for real this time. Thank you for watching. We're gonna end stream now, but tune in next week, and please watch my video if you want to watch my perspective. That's posted on the Blizzard channel. So see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have a co-host too. Peace.